Is the world about to get more local, or are we going to become even more individualistic? It seems apparent that the world is getting smaller. Just on our own individual basis, our worlds are getting smaller because we're in echo chambers. We're in these little niches online where we're only seeing part of the world, and everything outside tends to be a caricature, tends to be something simplified where we don't have to pay it too much attention and we get stuck in our echo chambers. We've been talking about that for a while. But on a bigger scale, we're hearing quite a bit about deglobalization, whether that's through America or through England, or even worldwide, where you get the BRICS nations and all of that stuff. That seems to be something that's now entering the collective consciousness. You might have heard the idea of peak oil, the fact that in the future, we are going to have less access to the abundance of energy that we have, or at least we're going to have less access to it through oil, and we can make arguments about nuclear energy and all of that sort of stuff. But it seems even if you're being very optimistic, that isn't built yet and will take decades-ish to build. And in the meantime, there's going to be a time when energy dips. What happens there? And if you want to go down my favorite rabbit hole, Jordan Hall's essay on civium is fascinating, where he argues that the economics of a city no longer work, because if you are rich and powerful and you have the option to play the Wall Street game, but from the comfort of your own home, surrounded by family, which cities aren't good for, surrounded by friends, cities not good for, surrounded by nature, cities not good for, why would you not choose the option where you get to keep all of these things, where you get to do it from your ranch, from your home, from whatever your retreat is? Why not? And once you take that head off the city, and the city structure itself doesn't function as it used to, at least. And Jordan Hall's argument is that it won't function, period. So, all of those are fascinating. But it's more kind of insidious. Last week, PUBG announced that it is introducing AI characters, AI playmates. Now, PUBG, for people who don't know, is the game that inspired Fortnite. And I trust that everyone recognizes that reference, because it has taken over the world. But they have announced that they're introducing AI playmates, meaning that the players will now be able to have an AI assistant, play with them online with their friends. And you better believe that in the next couple of months, you are going to be able to customize that assistant and maybe even have more than one or two. And they are going to have a temperament. They are going to have a style of playing. They're going to love charging forward. They're going to love sitting back and sniping or whatever else. But they're going to have a play style, and it's going to be matched to your play style. So this gets rid of the frustrations of my silly friend who's having a mood and is just going off on one, and you're able to play with this AI, basically, and you will be able to talk to this AI because we already have that. There are already people forming relationships with AI, and there have been already tragedies around that. So this is how I want you to, or this is how I'm trying to use the word, the world is getting smaller. It means that the network, the connections, the number of connections that we have is getting smaller and smaller. And with PUBG or with just online gaming going to introduce this technology in that way, surely that's getting even smaller. Because the one argument that everyone has had for the last decade is that the kids go online to play with their friends because they don't meet up, and if they didn't have the games, then they'd be left out or whatever else, and for some reason they can't just go cycle or meet up in other ways, because we all live so sparse now, or whatever the argument is. There are arguments for that, but the argument has been for the last decade that kids go online to talk with their friends. What happens when their friends are human and therefore flawed, especially teenage years, and therefore just it's easier. I prefer this friend, my AI friend. So again, and don't forget that people are building relationships already, and I don't just mean teenagers, but they will get hit the hardest. So what happens with that? Okay, so I think that it will split. Some people will be all about new technologies, whether it's going off to Mars, whether it's Neuralink, whether it's smart cities, whether it's AI friends. Other people will be phobic to it, where they will not want to touch anything that is technologically augmented. No, they'll be Puritan about it. They will want life in its fullest, in its real sense. Now, however that works out, I'm going to argue here that to bridge that divide and to stay in contact with real life, with reality, with awe, with something bigger, with whatever the mystery of life it is that like draws you forward. It's just like, how do I mix? My favorite is authenticity with humility. How do I listen to my inside self and listen to the outside world and get the feedback from both, whether that's in social situations or career situations or family situations or whatever else? How do I dance with the world? On the other side, how do I, get excited by all of these new technologies? How do I use them? How do I see the new opportunities? How do I do all of this without getting lost in AI characters, AI friends, and just all of that easy social kind of reward where I'm already being hacked by social media? Imagine what an AI friend could do. An AI business partner, who knows? All of this. How do I value real people? So my argument is that it's going to take a social technology. Now, social technologies have historically been housed in religions. Yes, that is roughly what I'm talking about. The fact that people got together and prayed together, people got together and chanted together, people got together and danced together, or whatever else it is. Now, shake that off. Yes, I know everyone has like the goosebumps about religion. I get it. And let's call it out. Let's say the whole because one of the social technologies is having a shared story, having a shared narrative to understand the world. And that is where it becomes dogmatic, and you have to believe it really happened, and you have to believe in these characters, not the other characters, even though symbolically they might have some bit of kind of, there might be some sort of symbolic understanding where there's interesting conversations to be had. So, with all of that, yes, there has been wars over this, there has been trouble over this, there has been centuries of trouble with dogma. Yes. So, I'm not going to solve that one today. What I want to put in front of you is the social technology part, the chanting together. We still have this for soccer games or pick your sport. There is going to be some sort of song. For your country, there is some sort of anthem. And just be mindful as well that all of those are kind of dwindling away. Which does not mean that they're gone forever. It might mean that they might come back with a vengeance. So be careful of that. Okay, sharing food together is a social technology. Sharing stories around the campfire is a social technology. Having just shared time, again, having, you can get into complicated technologies here, and this is what I think is going to be valuable, is you have things. Okay, your 8-wheeled path of the Buddha is fascinating. That's a whole system in and of itself, for sure. You have meditations and very specific ones. You have Stoic meditations. Again, I'm using meditation lightly there. meditation tends to talk about quietening the mind, so letting the thoughts pass. So really what I'm on about is contemplations, ways of looking at the world, such as your view from above, stoic practice, stuff like that. But sharing those experiences, as in having that view from above, imagine just in your body, breathe. Now view the room. Now view the house. Now view the town. Now view the county, the country, the island. Now view the planet. Now view the solar system. And just keep on zooming out and keep breathing, sticking with your breath as you're traveling all the way out, zooming out and out. And then just being like, whoa, isn't that absurd? Isn't that so interesting? And you have conversations around this. Again, that's what I mean by social technology. It is something that affords genuine connection. There are very advanced technologies on this. We will have to rehabilitate our view of the house that they come from. And I mean that for the East as well, because we have a very McMindfulness approach to the East, as in we have a Western version of Buddhism. Like yes. So we need to rehabilitate and really come back and really ask, what technologies are we using? We need to ask each other, are you willing to sacrifice some time to explore some new technology and see if it works? And this can be as light as something like Dungeons and Dragons, as some sort of shared acting kind of improv sort of game, or it can be something as deep as Alexio Divina, where you recite, where you chant to each other a single line, a single verse, a single song, and try and what is it that's getting channeled here? When I sing, I emphasize something. When you sing, you emphasize it different. When you chant, you emphasize it different. This is an ancient technology. I'm, of course, here going to say that the dialectic into dialogos is an amazing technology where you talk about the virtues and you get to a place where the words no longer work. I'm going to talk about love. Yes, and there has been countless books, countless movies, countless songs, all describing love. How do I define it? It's very individualistic. Like, people have their own definitions and it might even depend on the day. Do you love your partner in the same way you love your mom? It would be weird if you did. Do you love your friends, your companions, your colleagues, your childhood friends the same as your adult friends? We're getting into strange territory here. What is it? What's the through line that we can call love that crosses all of these boundaries? What is that? Having a full-blown conversation for an hour on that with 3 other people, or 2 other, you do it in groups of 3 or 4, is an amazing practice. Especially as it comes full circle and everyone's like, yeah, like, I know it, I want more of it, I already have it, and yet it's just absurd. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's more than I can describe. It is, and you get to a point of humility in front of a virtue. It's beautiful practice. It is something I do twice a week now. And I'm not saying that's a prescription. Do it once a month. Do any of these practices once a month. I'm simply offering that one out because I love it. But social technologies, we are entering a very strange time in the next 5 years, if not less. So be active, be proactive, really flesh out, see who's around, see how their temperament flows in different situations. Offer your own time, be willing to waste your own time on some, whatever it is, a physical challenge, some sort of, again, communication sort of thing, or just full on some sort of religious practice. Like, see how these places feel such that you can find some way of appreciating intimacy, stretching the muscle of intimacy, valuing intimacy, because very soon AI will be questioning that space. So What a happy note. The future is something to be excited by. Do not threat like too much. But you have to, the world's changing very fast. And leaning into it, finding the excitement, and carrying the uncertainty, carrying the absurdity of it all is the adventure of a lifetime. So with that, thank you so much for your time and attention. I will see you in next week's video. Bye guys.